Mr. Shawatha, how are you this evening? What can I get for you? Hey Arthur, look here, just give me a beer please. Alright, coming right up. Alright, here you go, sir. Oh, awesome, thanks man. Hey, listen, I know I said I wasn't going to talk about that girl anymore, but... Okay, you know how she's still asleep? I'm all ears. Well, I've kind of got a bit of a plan to wake her up, see? I found some tools, I can use that to just wake her up, disable her pod, and, you know, she's going to love it here with me. I mean, you know, it's going to be great, you're here, I mean, we're not going to be alone, and, you know, we're really going to grow on each other, if you know what I mean. I mean, sure, she'll never meet anyone else other than me and you, but, hey, things could be a lot worse. Okay, sir, I'm gonna need to stop you. Okay, that is just a terrible idea. It makes you sound like a stalker, and I really think I should just tell you now, none of this is real. In fact, you're just hallucinating. You were out drinking earlier today, somebody spiked your drink, and, well, you're actually drinking toilet water. Oh God! Passengers, the sci-fi mystery film starring Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence as two would-be colonists who wake up way too early on their trip to their new home. This was one of the most creative sci-fi films I've seen in a while, and at the same time was one of the most boring. This movie isn't bad, but it is one of the most flawed films I've ever seen, and while I hold it in the same category as the Warcraft movie, I would say it's actually worse. Okay, I'll get the positives out of the way. This movie is very creative with its premise. We actually get to see a good deal of the spaceship Avalon as it travels to the new colonial world of Homestead 2, and when Chris Pratt's character wakes up early thanks to a glitch in the ship's system, it is actually pretty cool to see all the different systems of the ship, what they do, and how Pratt interacts with them when he finally realizes he should just have some fun and make the most of the time he has, even though he's going to die before he reaches the colony. And there is actually a very poignant moment where he nearly contemplates, or should I say, commits suicide. And when Jennifer Lawrence's character, Aurora, shows up, they actually have a great deal of chemistry. They're very believable, and the characters are likeable. Hell, there's even a third character, the bartender robot featured in the trailer, Arthur, who's actually very charming and a pretty nice piece of comic relief. Hell, there's even another cast member who shows up near the beginning of the third act, played by Lawrence Fishburne, and, okay, he tries to be this hard-souled badass, and because there's no real action in the movie, at least not till the end, it doesn't really work, but he's still a nice character, and he kind of creates the niggling feeling that this is actually an unofficial continuation of Event Horizon, another film that Lawrence Fishburne was in. But those positives aside, oh man. For those who don't know, storytelling is usually defined by a three-act structure. Beginning, middle, and end. Beginning is establishing everything, the middle is escalation of tension, and the third act is a little bit more building up, then the climax, and then finally the resolution. Now, in Passengers, they do follow this, but each act has a completely different and jarringly different tone and style to each other. Like, the first act comes off as Castaway in space, how when Pratt even grows his beard, he kind of looks like Tom Hanks in that movie. The second act is kind of like Sleepless in Seattle in space. And then the third act, for the majority of the time, feels like Poltergeist in space, with how all the ship systems are glitching and shutting down. At times it feels like you're actually watching three completely different films rather than a cohesive narrative. The second act is just dull. It's an utter snooze fest that's a chore to sit through. It plays off like the most mind-numbingly dull rom-com that you've ever seen. I mean, if you're a woman and you're into those type of movies, then okay, I guess you'll love the second act, but for everyone else, it's just a boring chore to sit through where there is no tension, no escalation, and while there are some hints that things aren't right, not a lot actually happens other than we just have to watch one of the most boring romances play out. Not to mention, this movie's ending? I'm not going to spoil it, but I will spoil some elements to it. See, before the actual ending takes place, there are two other points in the film where it could have ended on a bitter yet satisfying note, such as when Chris Pratt has to actually stay in this tunnel to keep the door open to cool off the Avalon's reactor. That would have been a nice moment of self-sacrifice where he gets blown out into space, he dies, and then Aurora, she finds herself in the same position as Pratt's character, alone on the Avalon for a full year, and with her sanity slowly waning, wrestling with the moral implications of waking up another colonist early. The other point where the movie could have ended satisfyingly was when Chris Pratt's character, Jim, revealed to Aurora that there's actually a sleeping pod in the medical bay that she could go into and go back to sleep. Now this would mean that Aurora would get to wake up on Homestead 2 as a colonist, but Jim would end up dying of old age and never see her again. This would have also been a nice redemption for the character. Okay, bitter, but satisfying. But instead, we don't get either of that, so the actual ending we do get is one of the most overly sweet, happy endings that's gonna rot your teeth. It's just so cringy in how it's shown off that you just left going, why? And possibly the worst thing about this movie is that there is no subtlety or nuance. Every friggin' detail is conveyed to the audience. There is no mystery for us. At the beginning of the film, we know why Chris Pratt's character woke up early. We know why he woke Jennifer Lawrence's character up. There is nothing. There is no mystery here. We know everything. While watching this, I realized it would have been so much better if the movie took place from Jennifer Lawrence's perspective. At least that way we would have gotten some more mystery, but no! While it is original to see things from Jim's perspective, the fact that we know why he woke up, we know that he woke up because a big-ass meteorite hit the Avalon's force field and screwed up the reactor. That just makes everything, well, it just makes the stakes so much lower because we're not on the edge of our seat going, oh man, what's going to happen next? Why is that happening? We know why everything is happening, and it really ruins the story. Passengers isn't necessarily a bad movie, but it's not a good one either. This is an average 5 out of 10 film. And dare I say, it's actually even more flawed than the Warcraft movie. There's nothing really worth seeing here unless you're curious, and even then, you can find so much better playing right now. Awesome, thanks for watching this video, hope you enjoyed it, and up next it's going to be a review of Moana, and I'll also soon have a game review of Lords of Shadow 2, that's the sequel to the Castlevania reboot. Anyway, got all that and more coming up, so remember to also like, favorite, and subscribe, and stick around.